Hi everybody, my name's Duncan from Direct Drive Hub and welcome to our Tuesday night theory workshop. Just want to say thanks for last week. We got over 380 views last week, which was brilliant, with that being our first one that we've done. So I was really happy with that. So just like to ask everyone again, if you could please like and share these videos so it gets out, obviously, so we can hopefully increase the number of viewers and that we're getting for this. That'll be fantastic. And just a reminder as well, this theory workshop that we're doing on a Tuesday night is for everybody. You do not have to be one of our customers. Everybody is welcome to join in and comment, and so please, the more the better. Okay, so before we start, I just want to give you maybe a couple of tips to help you towards your theory test and also your practical training leading up to your driving test, and I just want to show you 3 books that I tend to use, and they can actually really give you the help that you need for, say, both your theory test and your practical driving test. So first one, everybody should be familiar with it. It's the Highway Code. Alright, it really is a must. Everybody should have a copy of the Highway Code. It is downloadable as well, A lot of the apps nowadays, theory apps and things like that, actually do have it as a downloadable thing. I think actually having a hard copy is a good thing, because you can carry it around, and I find it easier to refer to it, as a book, rather than trying to obviously find it on a download, but that's entirely up to you guys. The other book, is Know Your Traffic Signs. This book goes in depth, about all the traffic signs, all the road markings and stuff, so it is important. Traffic signs and road markings are telling us things that we need to do, don't do, etc. To obviously keep us driving in a safe, responsible manner. So it's a vital book to have. And the last one is the official DVSA guide to driving the essential skills. I really think of that as your handbook. In there, there's everything that you need to know with your driving. I mean, from learning a cockpit drill about the controls of the car, setting those controls up, looking at mirrors, signals, junctions, different types of roads, even going into your basic maintenance and basic first aid. The great thing about having that book is not only will it help you to refer to and revise to for your theory, so if you're coming across things on your theory or a particular question that you've come across on your theory and you don't understand, it's a great turn-to book to have a look to try and source the information that you want. The other thing as well, which I tend to do with my pupils, is talk about perhaps what we're going to be doing on the next lesson, whether we're going to continue dealing with something that we've already dealt with, or we might be introducing a new topic. And the great thing about that, particularly if you're going to be introduced to a new topic, you can obviously turn to Driving the Essential Skills and have a read up on that new topic and kind of get heads up and have knowledge and understanding about what it is you're going to be dealing and tackling with on your next driving lesson. That's going to save time. You guys sat at the side of the road, with your driving instructor, whilst it's all explained to you. You can probably move on a lot quicker, getting stuck into the practical side of your driving lesson, which is, let's face it, that's where we want to be. If we can get more practical out of our driving lessons, and that things are going to come together a lot quicker and faster for us. Bottom line is, less driving lessons. So obviously a small investment in buying a handful of books in the long term, could save you a lot of money, because obviously you might find, because you're doing more home revision and more study and doing things, in your own time, the result of that could actually mean, you actually taking and having to take less driving lessons to get yourself up to standard to pass your driving test. So a few little tips. You'll probably see me, in weeks to come, with the various different topics that we are doing. You'll probably see me referring to these books. I'm going to be referring to them tonight. So, Right, so if I can just grab my notes, excuse me for 2 seconds. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at tonight is stopping distances. two sides of that, okay, obviously thinking about stopping distances, okay, and the separation distance, okay, we should have between us and vehicles in front, and also talking a little bit about speed limits, things like that, okay. This is something that comes up quite a lot on your theory, and certainly comes up all the time, okay, every time we get behind the wheel of the car and drive. So it's something, okay, that we need to be aware of. So I think, okay, the first thing, okay, is be aware of, okay, the speed limit of the road you're on. Every road we drive on, okay, has a maximum speed limit, which you cannot exceed. So if you're driving in a built-up area, that possibly is going to be a 30-mile-an-hour road, whereas if you're driving out on a rural single carriageway road, which is marked as national speed limit, that is going to be a 60-mile-an-hour road. So it is important, okay, that we're always aware, okay, of what the speed limit is, and identifying speed changes, whether those speed changes are going up in speed or down in speed. All right. So yeah, one of the ways, okay, we can tell, okay, about speed limits is, as we said, okay, if we're driving in a built-up area, we've got street lights, we've got no speed signs about us, then we're going to be in a 30-mile-an-hour area. If we're driving out in rural areas where we've got no street lights and no speed signs, then we know that the speed limit is going to be hitting national speed limit. So if that's a single carriageway, that's going to be 60 mile an hour for us. If it's a dual carriageway, that's going to be 70 mile an hour. If the speed limits are other than that, so going back to your built-up area where you've got street lights, if the speed limit is other than 30 mile an hour, so it's a 40 or a 50, what we will find, okay, is repeater signs, okay, reminding us that that speed limit is 40 or 50 mile an hour. And the same out on the rural roads, okay, where we've got no street lights. If the speed limit is other than national speed limit, we will see these repeater signs, okay, to remind us that the speed limit is other than 60 mile an hour. Remember as well, okay, knowing, okay, you know the speed limit of the road you're on, but just remember, okay, about other vehicles. Other vehicles, okay, may not be doing the same speed as you. For example, what I mean by that is maybe heavy goods vehicles. They have other restrictions, okay, upon them of the speeds that they are allowed to drive on. And you can look at that if you go to your highway code book and you turn to page 40. If I can show you this. There is a chart, you can see that. Okay, there's a chart there showing you the different classes of vehicles down on that left-hand column. Over the top, the different types of roads built up, single carriageway, dual carriageway, motorways, and the speed limits, okay, for these roads for the class of vehicle. All right, so it's worth obviously turning to your highway code page 40 and having a look at that. So, for example, as we said, okay, as a car or a motorcyclist even, okay, built up area is 30, single carriageway 60, dual carriageway 70, motorway 70. If you are a heavy goods vehicle, which is exceeding the weight of 7.5 tons, built up area is still going to be 30, okay. On a single carriageway road, their maximum speed limit is going to be 50. On a dual carriageway, it's going to be 60, and on the motorway, 60. So that applies for England and Wales. Scotland is actually slightly different. Built up area is 30. Single carriageway in Scotland is only 40 mile an hour. Okay, so there's a 20 mile an hour difference between what an HGV can do and what you can do, okay, on that single carriageway road. Dual carriageway is 50 and motorway is 60 mile an hour. So it is actually quite important, okay, for us to be aware of, okay, the different classes or different types of vehicles and the speed limits, okay, they have to adhere to. So therefore, okay, if we're driving on the road, okay, where we're allowed to do 60 and we're behind the lorry, we now understand and know why that lorry, okay, is doing less than that speed limit. All right, because obviously they have their own, okay, speed restrictions. So yeah, it's worth having a look at that chart. The thing also we need to think about, okay, is with the speed limits is how weather is going to affect us, okay, with speed limits. And this is starting to come into our stopping distances as well. Because weather is always going to have a massive effect, okay, on the way that we drive, the handling of our car. Okay, so on a dry day, all right, then generally things are good. We're going to have good grip, and so our stopping distances are going to be reduced compared to if we're driving on a wet road, okay, where we're going to have reduced grip, okay, on the road, so our stopping distances are going to be greater. And we'll have a look at what those stopping distances are in a bit. Also driving at night, okay, because obviously you'll remember, especially when we're driving on unlit roads, you know, visibility is going to be reduced. So again, it's important, okay, to make sure that we are driving, okay, at a speed, okay, that's suitable for what we can see, so we know we're going to be able to stop. So, you know, thinking about weather conditions, whether we're driving at night, all these sort of things are always going to have an effect on how we drive and affect our stopping distances, etc. The thing also is, like with vision as well, I think that's an important thing for us to think about, particularly if we're following large vehicles, because the closer we get to a large vehicle, the less that we can see. And I kind of think about that as if we were stood up against a 6-foot brick wall, we can't see anything over it. Okay, unless you're super tall, you can't see anything over it. But as you start to step away from that wall, you can start to see over it. And the further back you get, okay, the more that you can see. So when I'm driving, okay, I think of large vehicles like lorries and buses, okay, a little bit like that 6-foot brick wall. So I don't want to obviously be that close behind it. I want to come back away so I can obviously have better visibility up the road to see what's coming towards us, particularly if I'm looking to overtake. I actually had a situation today on a driving lesson where we had a tractor, okay, on the road, cutting the hedges and stuff. So obviously that was moving extremely slowly. And yeah, unfortunately my pupil got right up behind, okay, the tractor. Wasn't in danger. I mean, obviously the stopping distance, and that was fine. I mean, obviously, you know, there was enough distance, okay, there to stop if the tractor stopped, so that wasn't an issue. But the problem she had was she couldn't see, okay, what was coming down the road, so she was in no safe position to pull out to try and pass the tractor, because she could have ended up sticking her nose out and finding that there was something coming down. So again, we had to just get her to back right off, okay, and she noticed herself then, okay, as the tractor started to get further and further away from her. Therefore her visibility, seeing what was coming down the road, was quite clear, and then she was then eventually able to make a safe decision then, okay, to pass, okay, the tractor. So distances, okay, are going to have an effect on visibility as well, okay, as your stopping distance. So that's something else, okay, that we need to consider. The other thing we really want to think about there is the visibility of the other driver, the lorry driver, for example, because if you're right up behind that lorry, there's a very good chance, okay, that lorry driver isn't going to know that you're behind him. Quite often you see stickers on the back of large vehicles like that saying, if you can't see my mirrors, I can't see you. So we really want to be in a position, okay, when we're behind large vehicles like that, that we should be able to see one of their mirrors. So if we can see one of their mirrors, okay, then there's a chance, okay, that lorry driver is obviously going to see you. The problem is, if the lorry driver doesn't know you're there, then all of a sudden, okay, you go to try and pass and overtake that lorry, and that lorry driver has to move out at the same time, okay, that could be a danger. And the problem is, remember, you can't see what's in front of the lorry. So this is why we want to obviously stay well back, so that lorry driver can always know, okay, that you're behind, okay, to keep you and everyone else safe. So yeah, okay. So looking at the stopping distances itself, okay, if we go back to the highway code and we turn to page 42, we have all of the stopping distances on that page. Okay, nice little chart there. So it's obviously set out as in miles per hour, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 mile an hour. And obviously what they've actually done with the overall stopping distances, okay, is actually given you it in 3 measurements. They've given you in meters as the main measurement, feet, and in car lengths. Car lengths, I think, is a bit of a funny one, really. Okay, what are we talking about here? We're talking about a Mini or a Volvo Estate. Yeah. So think about an average size car, something like a Ford Focus, Vauxhall Astra or something of that nature, okay? So it's kind of like a medium-ish sized car. And it's worth actually going and having a look at the car, okay? You've probably got the car maybe parked on your driveway, your parents' car, partner's car or whatever. Go and have a look and actually have a look at the length of that car. So you've got an idea, okay, of actually what a car length look like. Again, it's something, okay, you know, some people are not that great with distances. You know, I've asked a pupil in the past to maybe reverse back a couple of car lengths, and they either kind of go one way or the other. They reverse back a couple of feet, or they end up reversing back, okay, all right, rather than a couple of car lengths, okay, more like 3 or 4 lorry lengths. So it is worth actually having a look at the size of the car so you have an idea of roughly what that length is. The same as obviously whether you're working in meters or feet, okay? I think nowadays most people, okay, obviously going to be more likely working in meters, but it doesn't matter, whichever suits you, but it's worth having a look, okay, just obviously work out and judge, okay, what the distances are, so you've actually got some idea, okay, of what 12 feet looks like or what 12 meters looks like. Because it's okay learning the chart and learning these stopping distances, but we need to actually have some sort of understanding, okay, of what that distance is. And it's something very difficult. I can't show you here in the classroom, but it's something you probably want to go and do and actually go and have a look at, okay, for yourselves. So just to start to have a look at the stopping distances, I'm just going to do this in meters, all right? But again, you guys can convert it yourself, okay, by looking at the chart into feet or whatever you want, okay? But I'm just going to do this in meters, and I'm not going to do them all. I'm just going to give you a couple of ideas on some of them. So if we were travelling at 20 mile an hour, okay, what the highway code is telling us, okay, is that at 20 mile an hour, our overall stopping distance is going to be 12 meters. Okay, so I hope you can see that. Right, now the thing about our overall stopping distance, okay, this is actually broken down into 2 things. It's broken down into, first of all, our thinking distance. So this is the distance, okay, that we are going to travel along the road, just actually thinking about braking. So we spot the problem, we need to think about actually then putting our foot onto the brake to actually start braking. So this is going to be our thinking distance. So if we were travelling at 20 mile an hour, our thinking distance is going to be 6 meters. So before we do anything about braking, we would have travelled 6 meters just thinking about braking. Then we have got our braking distance. This pen is. And our braking distance at 20 mile an hour is also going to be 6 meters. So 6 plus 6 equals 12 meters. So our overall stopping distance is going to be 12 meters. All right, let me just change my pen. So if we have a look at our overall stopping distance at 70 mile an hour, at 70 mile an hour, it is going to take us 96 meters to bring the car to a stop. So our thinking distance on this one is going to be 21 meters. That's some distance. And this is why, again, I'd like you maybe try and get yourselves out there and actually have a look, okay, at what 20 meters, 21 meters is. So you actually have some understanding, because I think for a lot of people, okay, when they actually go out there and look at these distances and actually kind of measure them out, okay, roughly, and actually look at what these distances look like, most people are actually quite shocked on how far it actually is. So our braking distance at 70 is going to be 75 meters. All right, so 21 plus 75 is 96 meters overall. So you can see there, okay, a massive difference, okay. The faster we go, okay, our thinking distance is going to increase, our braking distance is going to increase, so obviously our overall stopping distance is going to increase, okay. Now these distances, okay, are, I mean, obviously, to be honest with you, today's modern vehicles and all that, modern braking systems and all, you know, chances are, okay, we'll actually stop a lot sooner than that. But if we can think about, okay, at these kind of distances, okay, we know that we're not going to go too wrong, okay, and making sure that we're going to be safe to stop. So these are our stopping distances, okay, on a dry day. The thing is, okay, when we start to drive on wet roads, what we're going to do is we're going to end up increasing our stopping distances by 2. Now a wet road is not going to change our thinking distance, alright, that's going to remain the same. The only thing that's going to affect our thinking distance is us. So obviously if we're tired or any of those sort of things, and then that is going to affect our thinking distance. But the wet road is going to definitely affect our braking distance, which then is going to affect our overall stopping distance. So on a wet road, at 20 mile an hour, for example, in the wet, that is now going to take us 24 meters, okay, to bring the car to a stop. If we're talking about ice and snow, now this will maybe shock a lot of people, but driving on ice and snow, that is going to increase our stopping distances by 10 times. So even at 20 mile an hour now, okay, reasonably low speed, our overall stopping distance is, okay, in the ice and snow, is going to be 124 meters. And I think the problem we tend to find, okay, with things, okay, okay, at the moment we're in the summer months, okay, road conditions are not too bad, okay, we've been having a lot of rain recently, so obviously we've been having to deal with the wet conditions. But come later on in the year, okay, when we first start to see our first icy mornings and stuff, okay, and we've now got to deal with the ice and that, people are not adjusting, okay, their speeds and how they're dealing with things, okay, according to that. And this is obviously why we tend to find cars in ditches and things like that. We need to think about how the weather is going to affect us and how it's going to affect the handling of a vehicle and drive accordingly to it. It is really vital that we do that, okay? So we're having a look at the figures and say you can look in the highway code yourself, okay, and obviously get in depth, okay, and have a look at all the different distances at all the different speeds to give you an idea. Alright, the problem we got though, okay, when we're actually driving is stopping and separation distances and all that lot, okay, are not all about numbers and figures and that. We haven't got time to think about all this before hitting the brakes. That thinking distance is going to massively increase if that's the case. So we need a really good, easy way, okay, to make sure that the gap we have between us and the vehicle in front is always going to be large enough to bring us to a safe stop. And we should always be able to slow down and stop normally. At the end of the day, okay, braking harsh, emergency stopping, okay, should really be something, okay, that we do once in a blue moon. Okay, we're looking at being able to slowing the car down and bring it to a stop, okay, under normal braking conditions. So we can use something called the 2-second rule. We have a silly little rhyme we say with this: only a fool breaks a 2-second rule. So if we pick a marker, so we see the car in front, and that car in front, okay, is passing a lamppost or a junction or something like that, any kind of marker you want, and you now say to yourself, only a fool breaks a 2-second rule. If you pass that marker yourself before you finish that rhyme, then you know you're too close to the vehicle in front. You should be able to say that rhyme, okay, and then pass the marker. So, and that's going to work, okay, on dry roads. If we're going to be doing it on wet roads, okay, we need to turn that into 4 seconds. I don't know, say the rhyme twice. And obviously increasing it again for your ice and snow. Let's face it, okay, if we're driving on ice and snow, okay, chances are we're not going to be driving at 70 miles an hour. We are going to be driving at lower speeds. The thing about weather conditions as well is think about, okay, if conditions are extreme, is your driving necessary? Is your drive necessary? If not, maybe perhaps the safest thing to actually do is not to drive. And these are the things, okay, any responsible driver would actually think about. So yeah, always, you know, think about the weather conditions. And remember, weather conditions can change as we're driving if we're on a long journey. You know, so weather conditions might be okay when you start, but obviously those weather conditions, okay, can change, okay, along that journey. So be prepared, okay, for weather conditions, particularly if you're taking a long journey. Be prepared for that. Be prepared for delays and stuff. All right. So yeah. Lastly, okay, just thinking about your road markings. Okay, what sometimes we see on motorways and that is chevrons. I'll just quickly show you what you mean. So if we've got a 3-lane motorway, excuse the whip drive. Okay, so sometimes, okay, we will see in the lanes some chevrons. Upside down V's if you want. And if you go to know your traffic signs, if I remember rightly, it's page, excuse me, yeah, page 88. There is a diagram, a picture, okay, of that. And when we see these chevrons, okay, what they're saying, okay, is we should be able to see 2 sets of these chevrons before the car in front. So if that is us, the car in front should at least be up there so we can see 2 chevrons before the car. So this is going to be on a dry day, isn't it? If it's wet, we need to double that. Okay, so hopefully, okay, this is going to start to give you some idea, okay, of stopping distances and visibility, etc., etc. Give you some ideas of how you can work these stopping distances out and making sure that you're always, okay, at a safe gap, safe distance between you and the car in front. So what I'm also going to do, okay, at the end of our videos each week, I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm not going to give you the answers. What I am going to do is I will answer those questions at the start of next week's video. So these are the type of questions, okay, that you could come across and find that you've been asked, okay, on your theory test. So if you don't know your answers, research it. If you want, you can always comment the answers, okay, in the comments box below on our Facebook page. And yeah, but I will obviously confirm the answers, okay, on next week's workshop. So 3 questions I'm going to ask you tonight is question 1. If we are travelling at 40 miles an hour on a wet road, what is going to be our overall stopping distance? So our overall stopping distance at 40 miles an hour on a wet road. Okay? Question 2. If we are driving a lorry that is exceeding the weight of 7.5 tons, what is the maximum speed limit in England and Wales that they can do on a single carriageway national speed limit road? So let's repeat that. If we are driving a vehicle, okay, that exceeds 7.5 tons and we are on a single carriageway national speed limit road, what is the maximum speed limit we can drive at? Okay, and the third question is, if we are travelling at 50 miles an hour on a dry road, what is our braking distance for 50 miles an hour? So you can give that distance, okay, meters, feet, whatever, I don't know, which is up to you. So, if we're travelling at 50 miles an hour on a dry road, what is going to be our braking distance at 50 mile an hour. Okay, so that really wraps it up, okay, for tonight's theory workshop. Hope it's been some help to you. If you've got any questions, okay, please get in touch with us. Again, if you've got any comments or if you've got any topics, okay, that you would like us to cover in the future, please let us know. At the end of the day, okay, this is for you guys and hopefully to try and give you guys the help you need with your theory and your practical driving lessons. So the more feedback we get from you, then hopefully the better we can make this workshop for you guys. Please remember to like our Facebook page, I'd really appreciate that, and to share the video so we can increase our audience. Again, as increasing our audience, hopefully the more feedback we're going to start to get off people so we can just continue to make this service better and better. And you can obviously find us on our website, which is www.directdrivehub, all one word, .co.uk. Okay, hope that's been some help, and I will see you next Tuesday at 7 for our next theory workshop. See you soon.